What up, everybody? I am your host, JP, and this is my co-host, Josh.
Hey, everybody.
And welcome back to another episode of the FilmBros podcast. Dude, we got ourselves a doozy here, Josh.
I've been told of such doozies.
Yeah. Today's Saturday, guys. No review. We kind of felt like this is something that needed to be discussed.
Exactly.
This
Especially
is gonna
with the Marvels around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. With the Marvels coming around, we're gonna be having an episode pretty soon.
Yeah.
The following week, from you guys listening to this one, a ranking. We're gonna have a guest. It's gonna be great. We're gonna talk about Marvel and all its atrocities. We'll probably be mentioning this too, but we thought this article was a video in itself, or an episode in itself, and yeah, it really is. Josh, you're about to lose your mind. You're about to lose your mind. I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah.
We're all gonna implode right now. But before we do that and we get our implosion all over the wall, can we go ahead and let these guys know where they can talk to us? Give us a movie to review for our next movie review, maybe. If they want to support us in a big way, catch a live one of these times. Go ahead.
Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at FilmBros Podcast. We post new episodes are up. You can hit us up there for any news or movies. Any news or movies you want us to cover. I don't know why I spaced out right there. We're also on Facebook, if you care about that, at FilmBros Podcast. Listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts, at FilmBros Podcast, Spotify, YouTube Music, things like that. We're on a bunch of sites, anywhere you get your podcasts. Support us in a big way. Buzzsprout, link is in those bios of the socials I just gave you. Special perks to those that subscribe and help the show grow. Like shout-outs on episodes, so we recognize you for helping us out. Subscribe to our YouTube at FilmBros Podcast, and then catch a live on Twitch every Saturday and throughout the week at FilmBros Podcast on Twitch.
Yep. So, let's just start getting into the meat of this.
Yep.
There's no point pussyfooting this. Variety did a hit piece.
He did.
Not he did.
No,
they did.
No, it's just Variety. It's a guy.
That's kind of sexist. What if Variety's a woman?
Why would I guess Variety means it doesn't matter. It could be anybody.
Yeah, oodles and noodles. Variety decided to do a hit piece.
Yeah.
Why they do a hit piece is beyond me, especially on this juggernaut giant that is Disney, Marvel,
They had
Star Wars, etc., etc. Maybe finally they've had enough. Like we've had enough. Maybe they've realized that Marvel isn't at the peak it used to be.
Maybe, or maybe they just got tired of doing other news. They're like, we're running dry over here. We can't talk about the strike. Nothing's moving.
So we got to do God's work.
Yep.
So Variety published an article, and we're gonna read the article. We're gonna go all the way through it. We're gonna give you guys our thoughts, our opinions, where we see this going. What would be the plausible route? I mean, I don't think half of these are plausible routes, but they were
for sure.
They were the fact that there were considerations for me just shows how desperate Marvel and Kevin Feige and Disney, Bob Iger is in general. It's just the stench of desperation is not good for the soul.
I believe it. Yeah, I think this coming out and then the book, the How Did the MCU Be Made or whatever the fuck it was called that released are doing numbers against the MCU right now. Yeah,
and if you want to see the even next little bit of desperation for Marvel that they've been doing it to make people come out to watch the Marvels is that leaked post-credit scene that's going around.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't seen it, but the rumors that an X-Men might show their face.
Yeah.
I think in the little teaser trailer, whatever, they kind of said, wait to come to what's next, and then all the letters fade away except for the X, implying that the X-Men might be there. From what I hear from scoopers, that it's just a cameo. It's not even that big of a deal. But if they're going to really double down on this whole X-Men fiasco when they don't even have, let's be honest, they said recently, we covered it, that they're barely talking to writers about introducing the X-Men into the MCU.
Then the next X-Men would be Deadpool. Like that would be like the next installment in the MCU.
And that's a couple years away now.
Exactly.
And if this SAG strike keeps going on, it's going to even be pushed further.
Yeah, we won't get them for a while.
It's gonna be a tough time. So the Variety article is called "Crisis at Marvel: Jonathan Majors Backup Plans, the Marvels Reshoots, Reviving Original Avengers, and More Issues Revealed." And then you get this little artwork.
I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, Doctor Strange, Iron Man trying to hold up the the stock market price while Captain America, the Hulk's holding it up, and then right there, Captain Marvel, Samuel L. Jackson, Ant-Man. You got Loki, She-Hulk down here in the cut.
Yeah.
Sam Wilson's Captain America. And this is a perfect picture, right? To me, because obviously it did start off with the original Avengers. Spider-Man really helped bring up this stock market what Marvel and Disney Marvel is today. And then out of nowhere, we get, Captain Marvel after Endgame. Kevin Feige announces, female lead actors will one day surpass the male actors within the MCU and yada, yada, yada. And we see the fall of everybody now. Now, why Loki's here in this picture, I don't know. I've been hearing it's good or whatever, but I don't think anybody's watching it. I don't see a lot of buzzers talk.
No, everyone's watching. New episode drops today. I guess it'd be out by now.
That's what I'm saying, but I'll probably see a few people tweet about it, but then it's gone. I don't even hear anything
That's
about
why.
it.
It happens all on Thursday, and then a lot of it talks on Friday, because I don't think people, time zones are different, but there's hype, and then it's just like the Ahsoka show, or Andor, where no one was quote-unquote talking about it. It just, for the day, the episode drops and whatnot, and then, you move on to what's next. And Loki is going up against Gen V, and, it's almost done.
Gen V, and let's be honest, football. Thursday night football right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it basically, after that episode, there's one more, and then it's done. Thank God it didn't have to go up against Invincible, because that shit would have blown it out the water. At least against Gen V.
And now Invincible too.
Man, you not listening to what I'm saying?
Oh, I
just said that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's wrapping up. It's gonna have one more episode. It's gonna go up against the second episode of Invincible.
Oh, okay.
But I'm saying if that wasn't the case and Invincible was right there in the cut, it would have blew it out the water. So thank God it's not living that far.
Got you. So they do kind of really throw a lot of people under the bus in this article.
For sure.
I read the whole thing.
I believe it.
It's insane. I know Jonathan Majors is your guy too. They do discuss him in this article as well. Are you fearful for what this article brings? Did you kind of get a sense off Twitter and all the articles that have been popping up so
I saw
far?
the headlines on Twitter, but I didn't go into reading the article myself. I saw the big headlines they wanted to cut him or whatever after the first arrest, and then a couple things about Marshall Ali, and that's about it. But I haven't read it, so I don't know.
All right.
I would say it's very worrisome.
All right. Well, we'll dive right into it. We'll figure out what's the do's and don'ts, and we'll figure out where their desperation level is at this point. So the article starts off, this past September, a group of Marvel creatives, including studio chief Kevin Feige, assembled in Palm Springs for the studio's annual retreat. Most years the vibe would be confident, even cocky, given how the premier superhero brand owned by Disney since 2009 has remade the entertainment business in its image. But this occasion was angst-ridden. Everyone at Marvel was reeling from a series of disappointments on screen, a legal scandal involving one of its biggest stars, and the questions about the viability of the studio's ambitious strategy to extend the brand beyond movies into streaming. The most pressing issue to be discussed at the retreat was what to do with Jonathan Majors, the actor who had been posed to carry the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but instead is headed to a high-profile trial in New York later this month on domestic violence charges. The actor insists he is the victim, but the damage to his reputation and the chance he could lose the case has forced Marvel to reconsider its plans to center the next phase of its interlocking state of sequels, spin-offs, and series around Major's villainous character Kang the Conqueror. The article goes on to say, at the gathering in Palm Springs, executives discussed backup plans, including pivoting to another comic book adversary like Doctor Doom, but making any shift would carry its own headaches. Majors was already a big presence in the MCU, including as the scene-stealing antagonist in February's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Yep.
And he has been positioned as the franchise next big thing in this season of Loki's, particularly in the finale, which airs on November 9th, and sets up Kang as the titular star of the fifth Avengers film in 2026. And then we got Is Marvel in Trouble? Another cover here. You got She-Hulk, Kang, Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, Ant-Man, and everybody's walking away and leaving buckets of popcorn all over the place. That's a sad picture to see.
For sure.
Like, at one point, everybody wanted to be there.
Yeah.
So it's weird. And you see people leaving with Captain America shirts, Thor hammers, and Iron Man masks. Marvel is truly fucked with the whole Kang angle, says one top dealer who has seen the finale, the final Loki episode, and they haven't had an opportunity to rewrite until very recently because of the WGA strike, but I don't see a path to how they move forward with him. Beyond the bad press for Majors, the brain trust at Marvel is also grappling with the November release of The Marvels, a sequel in 2019's blockbuster Captain Marvel that has been plagued with lengthy reshoots and now appears likely to underwhelm box office. So we'll cover that right now. A lot to take in. They thought from pivoting from Kang and moving him to Doctor Doom. This whole multiverse saga has been fumbled long ago, and I see in this article that they're kind of blaming Quantumanium. If anything, I feel like Majors gave his best performance there, and also in the Loki season finale of season 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I haven't seen season 2 yet. This guy saying that Marvel's basically locked in because they couldn't reshoot.
Yeah.
They couldn't rewrite.
Mm-hmm.
The strike really tied their hands, and what
Yeah.
they have is what they have. And apparently, from what he's making it sound like, this season finale is going to really blow this whole multiverse thing wide open with Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah.
And there's no coming back from that.
That makes me excited. Like that, like, I'm telling you, I really love Kang as a villain. I've loved him since he showed up in Loki season 1. I loved him in Quantumania. I don't really love Quantumania itself, but oh man, yeah. They are right on the money with that scene stealing bit. But here's, I guess, the options that I think they could go for. Personally, I think pivoting to Doctor Doom is a huge mistake. We haven't even gotten the Fantastic Four. Like, where would he be, basically, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they could totally be like, oh no, he was running shit in Latveria or whatever and make him the big diplomat he is in the comics. Sure. But at the same time,
I don't know how well that would go.
That's
right
what
now.
I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't work out. And then again, no Fantastic Four, no nothing. And I understand he's this big, powerful dude in the comics. And in the game, what is it called? Where you get to play as the hero, Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah.
Ultimate Alliance. He was a big part of that. There's a cinematic trailer where he basically like ruins the whole fucking like heroes and things like that. He's a big threat. And I wouldn't mind them dipping into him at some point. Team up to be this big sorcerer or whatever else, you know, like he is. But you put a lot of time into Jonathan Majors Kang. Either because they've been sticking by him, they haven't dropped him yet.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they had talks, they decided, hey, we're just gonna write it out with him, and then we'll pick up the pieces of his career when it's time. That's if he's not guilty, or if he's not found guilty.
Assuming.
Or, I know people hate it, but recast. Who could play a good Kang? I'm not sure, but that comes with the whole point of, can he do it better than Jonathan Majors if they decide to go that route?
I'm pretty sure they could find somebody who could do it a little bit better. You know who they can get? Imagine if they the biggest, worst Kang there is Denzel Washington.
He does not want any part of that.
Yeah,
shit.
no, he wants to.
He
smoke.
does not want
Here's
any
my
part
thing.
of the MCU.
They really did fuck themselves. First of all, the multiverse didn't really have rules. You have 3 Spider-Man that look different, but every Kang looks the same. You know, you know, they blame it on. They're blaming it on, you know, Jonathan Majors here and all that stuff. But it's like, or like they're so willing to throw him to the side. But Marvel really did this to themselves. They put themselves in a corner. They said Kang was gonna be this guy. They didn't know which page. I honestly think that Sony deal really is fucking with them too. I don't know. They don't mention it in this article at all, but I honestly think that Sony deal is really fucking with them too, because not only does he have to make his universe work, but he's bending over backwards for Pascal to keep Spider-Man and make Spider-Man work over there too. So I think that's another issue that they don't really highlight here. But the fact that they were so willing to hit the ejector seat and pivot to Doom in my head tells you how poorly this phase and what the direction they were going was going already. I don't think they had any faith in it whatsoever after Quantumanium.
Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it all started once Jonathan Majors shit the bed. I don't think it was because this sounds kind of instant. Like, oh, what if we just do Doom? And they're just like, well, we that sounds fun, but we can't because we teed up Kang.
Yeah.
Yeah, they written themselves in the hole. But I think the suggestion of Doom was just a quick like, well, let's bail him out this way.
I don't think it was a fleeting passing by. I think they saw the decline in viewership, the decline in like people's interest within the MCU.
Yeah, but Kang
and then when he got in trouble, that's when they said, "Can we do this?" And they were like, "No, we can't do that because we're already hitting this fucking shit hard with Kang. We already recorded Loki season 2. They were trying that. Kevin Feige, a lot of things came out saying that they were trying to pivot for the longest time, but they know, in my opinion, they know if they pivot, they're basically giving into the types like Neurotic and all them that are in the internet space that talk shit and do all that stuff, MCU, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They already knew all this shit was happening that was wrong with this universe. I think this article could be teeing up a fall guy, and I think the fall guy is going to be Kang. I think they're teeing up the idea that because of this trial and because of everything is going to really derail what's happening within the MCU, and that they really got to come fix it. And you're right, they'll either recast, because if the finale really is locked in, they'll recast them,
bro.
They're gonna have to, because in the next part, I'm gonna tell you why he's not coming back. Even if he beats this trial, he's not coming back,
bro. They solidified Kang in the most.
They did not. He got beat by ants. He got killed by Sylvie. And yeah, I heard in the second season that Victor Timely is not Timely there the whole time.
You're dumb. But no, there's no way. He's a menace in that whole thing. Whether he dies or not, in these ways, you can't deny that Kang has been the fucking center of the shit.
No, he hasn't.
Yes, he has.
If
he quite literally stole the show in Quantumania. We can agree with that, right?
And then where was he?
Well, no, listen. I'm not done. He was there, right? Agree with me there.
Sure. But then where'd he go?
You're not. Give me a second. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Just agree with me first.
I said yeah, but then where'd he go?
Where do you mean, where did he go? He went into Loki. They're going to be different variations of Kang. Uh-huh. He's in Loki right now. He was in Loki season 1. Once he showed up and he was the one who remains or whatever, that blew the door wide open. Okay. Everyone loved his performance in that finale.
I'm not saying that he don't do good.
Hated Sylvie in that aspect. That's what I'm saying. They're teeing up Kang. They teed him up there. They teed him up with Quantumania. And again, that was a whole lot of
your argument, though. That's
a whole lot of Jonathan Majors.
What you were saying,
what he did.
What you were saying is that he's the center of the thing.
And he is.
He's not.
Yes, he is.
Nobody cares about him.
What do you mean?
Nobody cares about him.
That's cap.
Nobody cares about Kang. Nobody even knows. We've seen him 3 times, and he got his ass beat all 3 times.
Twice.
And even then, yeah. Twice?
You've seen him twice.
Oh, okay.
You haven't seen Loki season 2.
Who has? Who's seen Loki season 1?
Everybody.
Really? Everybody.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that people that went to go watch Quantumania saw Loki first and knew exactly what's going on? You think that Marvel's not making it difficult to even keep up with these movies?
Well, that's a whole different conversation.
Let's be honest.
Because I'm sure there's fans that just want to go see the movie.
Okay, well there you go. So how is it that he's the center of the MCU if people aren't even following along to see where he goes? I'm telling you, the Loki numbers weren't great. I've looked them over when we never talked about it. We didn't have the podcast when the first season had dropped, but I've seen the numbers. They were not that phenomenal. Let's just say all the Disney Plus shows that Marvel has put out has not been 100%. Star Wars Andor, though it was low, it did better than some of the Marvel shows. And that's just putting it as nicely as I can.
That dips into direction and all that.
So the fact that you think that Kang is like the center of the universe, it's not. He's really not. And they've done a messy job of trying to prop him up in that spot. And if this finale is supposed to be that definitive, fuck yeah, we nailed it. He is the big bad. Then they're basically fucking themselves again because This whole time, nobody gave a shit. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to force us to give a shit, and that Kang's not even going to be around anymore?
There's no way. Because even then, they solidified him at the end of Quantumania and that end credit scene with all of them being there and the Council of Kang and things like that. They teed him up. They
Who
put him
watched Quantumania? Nobody watched Quantumania.
Whether it flapped or not, they still teed him up in it.
This is not what you're understanding. You're saying that Marvel did do these things.
They did.
In a very poor way, they did do them.
They still did it.
Listen, I'm acknowledging that they did these things. What I'm telling you is that nobody gives a shit. Nobody has seen it.
That doesn't matter, though.
Nobody cares. It does matter.
How? Because they teed him up regardless in the movies.
How are you gonna have? Okay. Fucking. You just said Doctor Doom, right? You said nobody's gonna want him, right? So if people reject him and people don't watch him, regardless of what they're doing in the movie, it doesn't matter. They're gonna cancel it because nobody's watching it. It does not matter. What matters is what the consumer is eating. And if the consumer is not eating up Kang, why push this D-list character in front of these people's faces that don't really give a shit? We've been discussing this for months. Marvel has not been doing great. They have not been getting viewership. They have not been getting any money. They don't have the fan base to back up a decision like Kang. But they're doubling down on him anyways. And now we have a trial that I don't even think it hinges on anymore because, like I said in this article, it goes down a little bit further to why Kang should have probably had like a fucking what do you call it? Background check. They should have said, "Hey, can we give me the Carfax on Jonathan Majors or something?" Because they go down a little bit further and say, "This is all an unprecedented turn for the fortune of the company that's enjoyed a nearly uninterrupted string of hits ever since it started independently producing its movies with 2008's Iron Man. The wildly profitable run accumulated in the $2.8 billion success of the 2019's Avengers Endgame, a high watermark for the studio that's earned them nearly $30 million over 32 films. Replicating that kind of phenomenon is never easy. However, the source of Marvel's current troubles can be traced back to 2020. That's when the COVID pandemic ushered in a mandate to help boost Disney's stock price with an endless torrent of interconnected Marvel content for the studio's fledgling streaming platform Disney Plus. According to the plan, there would never be a lapse in superhero fare, with either a film in theaters or a new television series streaming at any given moment. But ensuing tsunami of spandex proved to be too much of a good thing, and the demands of churning out so much programming taxed the Marvel apparatus. Moreover, the need to tease out an interwoven storyline over so many disparate shows, movies, and platforms created a muddled narrative that baffled viewers. The article says it itself. If you're going to force people to watch TV, movies, you obviously need a big bad that's going to drag them through that. And if you're just diluting your franchise for the sake of dilution, just to say, hey, you can not only watch it here, but over here, buy our streaming service, that's not going to help anything. It literally kind of proves the point that Kang is not this big person. I understand that you enjoy him. I enjoy him as well. I wish we could see a little bit more from him, but the general audiences are rejecting this man for whatever which reason. I personally think Marvel fumbled the bag. I don't even think it's Jonathan Majors' fault. Him going through this trial, that's his fault. I think what Marvel should have done was should have put him in Multiverse of Madness and not made Scarlet Witch the villain in that one. They should have put him in there. We should have seen him kind of tapping in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. Miss Marvel should have probably never happened either. Nobody really watched that show anyways. If they were gonna put this guy through here, you remember when like the first 3 phases were happening and Thanos was such a big presence off a fucking end credit scene, and then you kind of seen him in a couple things, and then eventually you seen him full-fledged in Guardians of the Galaxy, and you were just like, oh shit, something big's about to go down. It was that lurking in the background presence. And Kang, even though we know he's out there, it doesn't even feel like a threat because everybody else is just doing whatever. While Loki's over here running around, Ant-Man's, I don't know, writing a memoir and walking down the street by the end of the movie. Like, there's no real threat. If they would have solidified, I think you've said it before, if at the end of Quantumania they killed Scott, that would have been like a big thing.
Yeah,
and you would have.
That's the MCU.
That would have
Kevin like fumbling the bag.
That's what I'm saying. that would have really solidified him, and I feel like a lot more people would have been invested. But if you're losing to every character and don't even make a dent in these Avengers, but then you're like, are you the one with the hammer? And it's like, did he whoop your ass too? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I blame it on the MCU. Obviously, they just haven't had a grip on the multiverse stuff, though. I don't know what it is. Because again, it comes to that problem of they want to focus on grounded characters, Moon Knight, whatever, tell their stories, but at the same time, yeah, there is a grander thing going on in the multiverse, and at that point, the multiverse should be a thing in almost all the projects, and I think that's what's going on with the Captain Marvels, or with the Marvels movie. When Monica Rambeau says that she can see light, then I think one of the clips just came out saying that a multiverse is like slipping into their reality or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's something Monica can see. I don't know how. Obviously, we don't know her powers.
How do we know?
But
there's no rules here.
That's what I'm saying. But it's obviously the MCU's fault for neglecting it and not really having a path, I guess, the same way they had 1, 2, and 3.
I'd go as far as say it's Kevin Feige's fault. How hands-on do you think he was after Endgame? By then he
says he's very hands-on.
I know, but by
then so hands-on, the directors are saying that it's his movies. Yeah, is it one man's fault? But they won't blame him because that's where the money comes from.
I think he has like revisions, and by the end of the movie, like I'm pretty sure somebody hands him a script. He'll read through the script and scratch out whatever he doesn't want, put in whatever he's going to put in, whatever, blah, 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 that makes it connected and does all that stuff. But how often is he doing that now? How often is he actually doing those things actively? Because at one point, Pascal and him had a fallout for Spider-Man. Remember when those articles were happening? Yeah. And she was like, oh, he's too busy with his X-Men and blah, 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 blah. And then, they kissed and made up, whatever. Kevin called her up. Ayo, sweetie, calm down with that shit you talking over there. I'm going to come down and pipe you up real quick. And it was over. It was over. It was a wrap. Spider-Man's back in the MCU. Venom still doesn't have a Spider-Man. It is what it is. All is right in the world, apparently. But I like, how hands-on has he been since Endgame? And if he hasn't been in this universe, it's just been kind of going amok. And I'm sure he's seen this shit too. Like, why isn't nobody really saying like Feige is to blame here?
Because that's where the money is, and no one will say it. Obviously, he's the big guy. He made the Juggernaut happen or whatever. But I would put the blame on him. I would totally point that finger. I'd be like, hey, he's fucking up. And I really believe he is hands-on as he is. He put Multiverse of Madness through reshoots. He put the Marvels through extensive reshoots. Like, I'm sure he's the one demanding that shit. I don't think he's absent in all of it. I just think he has a lot of it on his plate, and he doesn't share it with anybody. So when he takes it into his hands, he's just like, oh, I need this to be here. And then we move to the next project. He's like, damn, but I teed that up in this movie. We got to keep moving or whatever. We haven't even heard of Blade since Eternals, man. We haven't heard of Eternals since Eternals.
Yeah.
We haven't heard of The Hand or whatever. Or the big fucking Celestial hanging out. I think we only got like one thing talking about it.
And it was in the newspaper. That was
exactly.
Yeah.
So like of course the lines aren't connecting as well as they should have, like they have been or they used to.
Yeah. And so the article continues to go. The Marvel machine was pumping out a lot of content. Did it get to the point where there was just too much and they were burning people out on superheroes? It's possible, says Wall Street analyst Eric Handler, who covers Disney. The more you do, the tougher it is to maintain quality. They tried experimenting with breaking in some new characters like Shang-Chi and Eternals with mixed results. With budgets as big as these, you need home runs. The Marvels, which opens in theaters on November 10th, will struggle to get the ball past the infield, at least by Marvel's outside standards.
See, I said that.
The movie, which cost $250 million and sees Brie Larson reprising her role as Captain Marvel, is tracking to open $75 million to $80 million, far below the $185 million Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness took in domestically in its debut weekend last year. Directed by Nia DaCosta, The Marvels unites Larson's heroine with two super-powered allies, Tanoia Paris, Monica Rambeau, and I like how they have to put this in, introduced in the 2021 Disney Plus series WandaVision, and Iman Vellani's Kamala Khan, first seen in 2022 series Captain Marvel. But instead of a seamless building on the success of Captain Marvel, this movie resulted in 4 weeks of reshoots to bring coherence to a tangled storyline. We'll talk about that. Reshoots, $250 million. This movie shouldn't have been made for $250 million. This is a Shazam movie, bro. This is like a Birds of Prey. This is like a
This is what I was saying, and no one wants to hear it, obviously. But I was saying this in a group chat, and I have someone in there who was writing hard for this movie for some reason, and I was like,
really love Brie Larson.
They're doing a shit. I love Brie Larson. She's great, but they are doing like DCU marketing for this movie, man. Or DCEU marketing. The movie comes out in a few weeks. We've only probably seen like 2 trailers, and that was in the month of like October. We saw a teaser, and then we saw an OG trailer, and now they're just releasing clips of the movie. I don't know how long they are. I've only seen one of them, but the movie is only like an hour and something. It's not long. It's not a long movie. This movie's gonna tank so hard, and it's gonna be so bad. Like, I have no faith, and I'm sorry to this person.
It's not even marketing.
I blame marketing for sure.
It's not marketing. It's a shit movie that nobody wants to watch. Nobody asked for this. Nobody asked for Brie Larson. Nobody asked for Kamala Khan, and nobody asked for Monica Rambeau to team up and do some crazy shit. You seen that South Park episode, right? The Panderverse.
Oh, I've seen clips of it. Yeah.
The Panderstone.
Yeah.
And like, that is the only one that I watched because I did see clips of it, and I was like, they're really digging at like Marvel and all that stuff, and you know, they kind of were digging at the whole MCU, the whole neurotic side, all that shit, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And let's be honest, this movie played right into their hands. A lot of these movies played right into their hands. How many times did we see a male lead get pushed to the back for a female lead? And then some genius idea, let's get 3. This is going to really make those incels mad. Let's get 3 women and put them all front and center and, put Samuel L. Jackson in the back and blah, 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 blah. It's like, nobody asked for this movie. Nobody wanted this movie. How this article said, instead of capitalizing with Captain Marvel 2, we barely seen her in her first trailer. The second trailer we reacted to, she was a floating person with a cat on her shoulder. You hardly see her in these trailers. She got so demoted in her own movie. It doesn't make any sense. Like, how do you lose your top spot? Go from Captain Marvel 2 to the Marvels. It should have been Captain Marvel 2 featuring maybe Kamala Khan or maybe Monica Rambeau. Maybe that would have been. They
should have been like cameos or something at best.
Yeah,
like they should not be front row and center in this movie, and that's my thing. I'm just like, I am really afraid of them really putting the back seat to Captain Marvel. At least it should be her movie, not their movie. And again, that is a whole thing about plot lines and all that, because they even spent that first trailer rehashing what went on in Miss Marvel and WandaVision and how they got their powers and all that shit.
And I'm going to tell you the biggest WTF moment. It's going to be read right now. Watch. So, the eyebrows were raised again when DaCosta began working on another film while the Marvels was still in post-production. The filmmaker moved to London earlier this year to begin prepping for her Tessa Thompson drama, Hedda. It says here that a representative of DaCosta declined to comment about that. If you're directing a $250 movie, it's kind of weird for the director to leave within a few months, says a source familiar to the production. I agree. You don't give somebody $250 million, say, make a car, and right before you're done making the car, you walk away and make somebody else's car. You need to get back and finish up. And I've been seeing this. I've been hearing people say, well, that's not uncommon. You leave in post-production to go start a new film all the time.
No.
That's horseshit.
That's not true at all.
That is such horseshit.
You finish what you're doing, but we know why. She wants no part of this.
Of course.
She called it Kevin Feige's movie, which I firmly believe, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what I'm saying. He's actively getting his dirty ass hands on the white seats.
His mitts.
Yeah, like she wants no part of this movie, and I can't blame her. I hope her next endeavor is fine. I'm sure this will be a fat L on her filmography, but she wants no part of it, and I support that decision.
I do too, because kind of like Chloe Zhao, she was very, very like up there to be a good director. A lot of people said she brought like Zack Snyder's style to the
Yeah.
MCU, stuff like that. Like she was this big person. There was rumors that she completely made people mad on set. I don't understand why. Apparently reshoots really got to her, and her having to change her movie and her vision really got to her, and it got to the point where I guess a mediator needed to come in or whatever to like fix shit out or whatever. But like that's what happens when you are making a movie in a universe that isn't yours. And that's one thing that maybe was a slight diss from James Gunn when he did say it, where it was like, oh yeah, we're going to make sure that, story is first and all that stuff or whatever. But this one right here is kind of like universe first and then story. And that isn't the way that it should work. And if you think story is to just add 3 female characters and be like empowerment, and if you don't watch this movie, you're fucking sexist. And it's like, well, why would why would I even want to even put myself in that predicament? You know what I mean? But moving out from a movie is 100%. If you're not done with that movie, if it's still in post-production, what if that movie needs reshoots? What if that movie needs to be touched up here? What if the director has a certain eye and whatever? You don't just leave it to everybody and just be like, you go for it. Now, will that hurt her in the long run? Probably within the industry.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Then we'll be like,
can she blame it on Marvel and just be like, well, they made a shit movie, so I couldn't stick around? Maybe that might be plausible, but maybe they wanted to see her thug it out just a little bit. Who knows?
That's funny. Because I mean, leaving is uncommon, and I know we've given shit to the dude that did Shazam 2 or whatever, and basically bailing on it. But I mean, he finished the movie at least. He did shit for nothing and bailing on the cast who was trying to promote it, but he still made the movie. It wasn't until after where he was just like, well, fuck it. but he was there through the end, basically. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you can commend him for that. Call him a shit person because you don't bail. I don't think you bail, period.
Yeah.
But in her instance, I'm willing to be like, you know what? It's Kevin Feige's movie. He can have it. Let her do her own thing at that point. If she's free of her contract after the fact, let her do whatever. She clearly doesn't want any part of what's going on with the Marvels.
Yeah, because, I mean, she could say, like, oh, I just wasn't a fit here. I'm more of a drama kind of person. I need to be able to, A24 is my lane type shit, you know? But the article goes on to say the Marvels has seen its release date move back twice once to swap places with Quantumania, which was deemed further along, and again when its debut shifted from July to November to give the filmmakers more time to tinker, but the extra time didn't necessarily help. In June, Marvel, which traditionally only solicits feedback from Disney employees and their friends and families, took the uncharacteristic step of holding a public test screening in Texas. The audience gave the film middling reviews.
Like it's average?
No, they fucking hated it. Texas hates fucking progressive shit.
That's true, yeah. Should have shown it in California.
They're red, right? They're like a red state.
Yeah.
They fucking hate progressive.
They should have showed it in California. People would have ate that shit up probably.
Yeah, probably. But maybe that's why they didn't do it. They were just like, well, we can't just have people that love the Panderstone. You got to go to people that are immune to the Panderstone.
Yeah, but...
And they were just like, what the fuck is this shit? Women?
Where's my cowboys?
There's a cow farm. Gonna be cows outside.
But I really think that was probably a mistake. I mean, asking your friends and family, obviously, of Disney employees, I mean, they're not going to say no to you either. They're your employees. Yeah. Be like, hey, I want you to take a look at this. If you say you don't like it, you're fired. Oh, well, sure? No, like, it's good. Like, don't fire me.
What did you guys think of Thor Love and Thunder? Can't we use Christian Bale just like, off with his head? Oh!
Like, yeah, like, they can just fucking shut him up immediately.
It's over. How
you going to have Gore the God Butcher, no God butchering? Take him out.
Get him out of here.
Yeah.
We don't need his
Get
feedback.
the next unpaid intern in here.
It goes on to say, but Marvel has never been in the business of being average. Kevin's real superpower, his genius, has always been in post-production and getting his hands on movies and making sure that they're finished strongly. The source adds, these days, he's spread thin. Fahey declined to comment for this story. Fahey isn't the only person showing signs of strain. Marvel's entire VFX battalion, including staffers and vendors, is struggling to keep pace with a never-ending stream of production. The past February, when the credits rolled at the world premiere of Quantumania, shocked rippled through the Regency Village Theater in Westwood over some shoddy CGI. There were at least 10 scenes that were the visual effects had been added at the last minute and were out of focus, says one veteran power broker who was there. It was insane. I've never seen something like this in my entire career. Everyone was talking about it. Even the kids of executives were talking about it. So, Fahey being spread pretty thin. I told you that. Quantumanium having shoddy CGI from post-production. I mean, that obviously is an issue there as well. Like I said, maybe another subtle dig from James Gunn when he's like, things won't be fixed in post. Things are going to be fixed on set. Maybe that was a shot at Kevin Feige, who loves to fix everything in post, because from what I heard, everything's post-production ever since...
it's on green screen.
Ever since Phase 3, basically. Like, oh yeah, we'll fix that. Oh yeah, we'll fix that later.
CG.
Yeah.
Yep.
Far From Home.
Terrible.
Fake gun from Samuel
Terrible.
Jackson.
So it's terrible. I really have no words. Obviously, we knew there was a crisis with VFX and all that.
Yeah.
That's
why they're unionizing.
Good thing they are unionizing. Really can appreciate that sort of thing. Basically, sorry for them that they were put through this. I hope they're not being put through this anymore. Hopefully the slowdown in Slate really helps them out. But damn, like, it really makes you think about the fucking hard labor that they got going on over there.
Yeah, they're going through it, and they have to deal with all that shit. Like, come on, you're really gonna premiere this movie after swapping it out with saying that Quantumanium's more far along, and then when you go and show it to people, people are like, well, this is what you meant by far along? Like, it's ridiculous. The schedule swap with the Marvels had left the Ant-Man sequel in a squeeze, pushing up its post-production schedule by 4.5 months. Marvel films are known for coming down to the wire, given Feige's ability to foam the runway and land the plane that way, says one executive familiar with how the company operates. But this level of unfinished was unprecedented and would be noted in scathing reviews when the tentpole with the $200 million budget opened 11 days after the premiere. Critics weren't the only ones dismayed, fed up with 14-hour days and no overtime. Marvel VFX workers voted unanimously to unionize in September, sparking an industry-wide trend. Everybody's unionizing now. I don't know if you've seen the articles. Everybody, union workers, Disney workers. I know the workers at Disneyland are wanting to unionize too. It's a slippery slope.
They deserve it.
They saw what the studios were doing to the WGA and to SAG-AFTRA, and they were like, hey, y'all are fucking us without lube. At least they get lube. We need some of that lube. Unionize us today.
Yep. It's interesting how that works, though. It only takes a little bit to actually start that whole trend. I'm not really... I don't really have words for it. I know they are going to have to go through a whole legal battle about it and things like that. Obviously, it's worth the trouble if it means that you get better pay and things like that. But it's interesting how that all just kind of sparked together. Yeah. The trend.
Mm-hmm.
The WGA really did something powerful when they were just like, we're not, fuck you. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. The year is 2023. The year 2023 was the straw that broke the camel's back, says former Marvel Studios VFX assistant coordinator Anna George, who appeared before the Congressional Labor Caucus on October 19 to testify about the studio's untenable deadlines and working conditions. The pay and long hours at Marvel were the reasons we had to start unionization process there. The conditions were completely unsustainable. Disney's top brass, including newly returned CEO Bob Iger, was said to be apoplectic about Marvel's VFX troubles. 1 month after the Quantumanium premiere debacle, the guillotine fell on Victoria Alonso, who oversaw the studio's physical production, post-production, VFX, and animation, while the reason cited for her abrupt firing was her unauthorized role as an executive producer on an Oscar-nominated film, Argentina 1985. Insiders say Disney was incensed that quality control on its Marvel productions was plummeting, particularly on the ever-expanding TV front. The VFX logjam had been evident for some time, with some final effects for such Disney Plus series as WandaVision and She-Hulk Attorney at Law inserted after their streaming debuts, that Alonso was busy promoting her art house project while Rome burned, certainly didn't sit well with Disney's leadership. Alonso's attorney says her client is unable to comment.
We talked about that.
Yeah, Alonso.
Way back
she was the fall girl. She was the one that they said, "Hey, man, Disney Plus. 2 months later, you're fucking polishing up a Disney Plus show. VFX, you're polishing. I mean, what was it? Love and Thunder when they were like, oh, they fixed the face on the Disney Plus release, and it was actually worse. But it is what it is. She was the person that they said, hey, man, you're not doing your job, and that's because you're over here promoting other movies. And she came back and clapped back and said it's because she's a feminist, whatever. Like she basically went on this whole tirade saying, it's because I'm a woman, you're firing me.
She was going in.
And so they said, nah, that's not it. Is look at our VFX. You're in charge of our VFX. Maybe you were doing. She's been there since the beginning of Marvel. She was doing it at one point, but stretching somebody so far and wide and not getting at least another person to help out and being like, well, it's all your fault. I gotta say that also has to be on the hands of the studio too.
For sure. She ended up getting paid out, by the way.
She did.
I'm sure she was gonna unload hella secrets. I was kind of waiting for that shit.
He was like, whoa,
no, we'll pay you.
Yeah,
Shh, don't tell them about what's going on in the Frozen Disney head. But yes, we did cover this a long time ago, back when it was a thing. It's been months now, but damn. That interesting that story came back up. I was like, I wonder. We knew what happened to her. She got paid out, obviously, but crazy that they decided
she's
to mention
living in
it
Cancun
again.
Somewhere, not worried about nothing.
Yeah. She's
or they caught her on the plane to Cancun.
Oh yeah, no, she's paid.
Yeah, but some internal sources suggest Alonso was a scapegoat and point to the She-Hulk VFX issues as a symptom of a deeper rot, namely a lack of oversight on script development in the original arc of She-Hulk. A flashback of star Tiana Maslany's transformation into her whole character didn't take place until episode 8. The penultimate episode, but after Marvel's Brain Trust watched footage, it realized the scene needed to happen in the pilot episode so that audience could see more of the character's backstory early. That meant that the VFX team was tasked with fixing the mess in post-production. The so-called bad VFX was because of the half-baked script, says one person involved with She-Hulk. That is not Victoria, that is Kevin. And even above Kevin, those issues should be addressed in pre-production. The timeline is not allowing the Marvel executives to sit with the material. All the while, Marvel was bleeding money with a single episode of She-Hulk costing some $25 million, dwarfing the budget of a final season episode of Game of Thrones. But without a similar zeitgeist bang, the August 2022 series premiere at the El Capitan Theater foreshadowed what was to come 6 months later at the Quantumanium Bow. The She-Hulk special effects were out of focus in multiple scenes. We know about this as well. They said, hey, we need to rearrange these episodes. Episode 8 is supposed to be in the front.
Yeah. They
weren't done, and that was when we're supposed to fully see She-Hulk finally transform into her person. She-Hulk. Why it would take 8 episodes in the script till we seen that in the first place is crazy. And then for them to look at the footage and be like, wait, no, actually that should have been the first one. There is a chain of command that is not really working out there. Fahey was usually this big person, but because he's spread thin, he's delegating it to other people. Other people are not passing it down as supposed to. And it's just becoming a jumbled up mess. It's turning into what's it called? When you get a slinky, you're having fun, and you're playing it back and forth, and then all of a sudden it gets tangled up.
It gets jumbled.
Don't ask me how it happens. It just did it.
Yeah. I mean, we could go on forever about the problems at Disney, man. Like obviously, I remember hearing about the She-Hulk screw up or reshoot. I don't know what to call it, but it's clearly a problem. How do you decide that? How do you decide, you know what, that last episode, let's move to the front? Like, I understand why, because it probably makes sense narratively wise, but it's dumb. And then now you got people who are basically ready to wrap up telling them, wait, no, you can't go because we made a final decision from the top. This came from Fahey himself. And now you got tired CGI workers that are just like, well, I just want to go home and see my family. You can see him next week when you finish this up. Like,
yeah. Bring Kang to the big screen first, and then we allow you to see family.
Only for an hour.
Yeah. It's no secret. VFX has been a problem. We know that there's been some kind of weird jumbled up mess in the chain for some while now. I mean, like I said, it was leaking into into actual business problems. Amy Pascal, the VFX workers coming out saying that what the fuck, we're not getting fed. Like all these things were popping out in public that Disney can't really save face anymore. And that's why this article is being made as well, because it's, when you're looking away, there's only so much you can look away before it's just like, oh no, you're literally shitting in my front lawn.
Yeah. What do you call it? I'm sure if this was the old MCU, this article would have never seen the light of day.
No, all those problems would have been brushed under the rug because winning cures it all. Success would have done everything.
Exactly. But now they're writing pieces on the MCU's downfall. The way they use Fall Guys too is insane, though.
The game?
No.
Oh.
The fucking people, man.
Oh yeah, my bad. I like
Jesus.
Fall Guys.
We're not talking about that stupid ass game. Fucking. No, but it's crazy because Nia DaCosta, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably gonna be Jonathan Majors, but no one wants to point the finger.
Chloe Zhao.
She
took the fall for
no
that
one
one.
wants to call the finger to Kevin Feige to
Brie Larson
to just do better work. And sure, now you could be like, but the course correction, course correction took too long.
This ship is so big, it's not just Feige anymore. That's the thing, right? Like, he's probably the one who has the final say, so we can easily say, like, that's it. But I'm sure he has people delegating what the fuck's going on. They have retreats.
Now we know why he's bald.
Why he's always wearing that hat.
Yeah.
Huh?
He'd pull out his hair if he could.
The article goes on to say, as public criticism mounts, Feige is pulling the plug on scripts and projects that aren't working.
Such as Wonder Man.
Yep. Case in point, the Blade reboot with Mahershala Ali signed on from the eponymous role of a vampire. Things looking promising for a 2023 release, but the project has gone through at least 5 writers, 2 directors, 1 shutdown, 6 weeks before production. One person familiar with the script preemptuates says the story at one point morphed into a narrative led by women and filled with life lessons. Blade was relegated to the 4th lead, a bizarre idea considering that the studio had 2-time Oscar winner Ali on board. Amid reports that Ali was ready to exit over script issues, Feige went back to the drawing board and hired Michael Green, the Oscar-nominated writer of Logan, to start anew. Speculation around town is that the studio is looking to make a film now slated for 2025 on a budget less than $100 million. A deviation of Marvel's big spending strategy. Well, first of all, vampire movies don't even need $200 million. You can make a vampire movie in less than that. I think
exactly.
Morbius was made with $80 million.
Mm-hmm.
And that had really, like, say what you want about the movie, but the flying and everything was actually
it had
clean.
good fights and things like that.
Yeah.
Decent enough. This doesn't... What was the first Blade made on? Blade, I imagine the first one didn't cost too much. It's just him walking around in a suit. CGI, the big bad, and most of your budget's there. You know what I mean? Maybe CGI...
Blade 1 was made on 45 million.
See? That is... Oh my god! Like you could fucking make 2 Marvel movies with that off of nothing. You know what I mean? And make your return. And fumbling Mahershala Ali. Oh my god! You have no idea the gem you have.
If you adjust for inflation, that would be around 80 to 90 million nowadays.
Yeah.
So what they made that movie for could be made with 80 to 90 million, like about 100 million. It could be done.
Exactly.
If Blade was able to do it back in the day,
to do all this spectacle shit, and it's like you don't need all that. You just need the story. You need the characters. And Mahershala Ali is already an A1 actor. You should not have to fumble him.
I think the best use of like cameo and like actually having the person in there. I know you're probably gonna be like, "Oh, get off his dick," but it's like Thor Ragnarok. I feel like incorporating Strange in there just a little bit and adding the little cameo name drops of Loki. You know, obviously Loki was there too as the secondary character or whatever. But having Doctor Strange be a part of that for like a second and then moving on, that really made the movie feel interconnected within the bigger world. It's that easy. You don't necessarily need a buddy type thing where you need that other character there by their side the whole time.
Yeah.
No Way Home did the same thing with Doctor Strange. I would have liked to see Doctor Strange a little bit more within No Way Home. Kind of sucks that they kind of wrapped him up and sidelined him for like a good chunk of the movie, and then at the end he's like, "Oh, I got out." It's like, what? They took you the whole movie. Sorcerer Supreme, my nalgas, dog.
He's not the Sorcerer Supreme.
Oh yeah, that's right, huh? Not anymore, at least.
Just Sorcerer.
Yeah, because whatever Juan is supposed to do it.
Yeah. Damn.
So they go on and say with this article, with Iger publicly acknowledging the downside of Marvel TV glut that diluted focus and attention, the keepers of the comic book empire are considering some dramatic moves. Sources say that there have been talks to bring back the original gang for an Avengers movie. This would include reviving Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, both of whom were killed off in Endgame. That shouldn't be a stumbling block in comic books. Beloved characters have often been killed off to be resurrected again thanks to the powers of things like the multiverse. But the studio hasn't yet committed to the idea. If you're able to bring those actors back, it wouldn't come cheap, sources say. Downey Jr.'s upfront salary for Iron Man 3 was around $25 million. I wouldn't say bring them back. I mean, it'd be nice to see them. And obviously in comic books, it just doesn't happen. But if you're already fucking with the multiverse, if you would have said everybody looks different, if you would have said everybody, and there's a different shape, form, and size, and multiverse, shenanigans, like you can be whoever. If they would have done that, I would have more than been like, after Endgame, you guys should have introduced a new Iron Man, like straight out the gate. Like as soon as, Kang was over here, he accidentally brought an Iron Man from a different universe over here. Now this Iron Man's trying to go back to his universe and then see how he compares to the rest of them. Start off a new cast, whatever, the original OG Avengers, and then you'll have the Young Avengers, and then you have the East Coast Avengers, West Coast Avengers. Like you could really populate this world with multiversal shenanigans, but they're so good at limiting themselves, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but Kevin Feige swears they're just in the beginning. I mean, that's true. Bringing back the OG actors sounds cheap. Sounds like a cheap cop-out.
Desperate.
To really bring back what works. And this is something that I say all the time. James Gunn gets it. But focusing on B-list characters when you've teed up A-listers and the A-listers technically haven't been around is something that you kind of have to live with, because now you got B-listers right in the A-team. The Avengers were the A-team if you can't put that together. Sorry to say, Sam Wilson, Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, all of them are the B-team, the B-listers. And now they're trying to team up to run A-team.
Well, they should have had them running the A-team.
They should have. But they haven't. They
Why
haven't even
are we
established
waiting?
the Avengers.
I was about to say, like, why are we waiting so long for an Avengers movie?
That's what I'm saying.
There should have been one by the end of Phase 4.
Yep, they should have. Something. But no. Like, at least establish a new team. You remember the Avengers Assemble show?
Yeah.
When the Avengers go missing, oddly enough to Kang, you know who they call? You remember that team? It was Spider-Man, Iron Fist, Luke Cage.
Oh, yeah.
They had that whole
the
team.
Defenders.
They had, they turned them into, they were like, oh, you guys are the backup Avengers.
Yeah.
Like, if the first team goes missing, we have these people. And they immediately sprung into action.
Mm-hmm.
They had Rhodey on there, oddly enough. Like, they should have had something like that in place, a contingency to be like, if these A-listers go, the B-listers have to pick up that pace. The A-listers have gone.
And what would have been the perfect time to showcase them? In a Secret Invasion movie. They should have been building up Kang in the background, right? And that would have been fine if we would have seen him a few times and him kind of, side plot Loki and them, the mystical forces are trying to figure out what's going on with the multiverse while, the other Avengers are over here dealing with the Skrull invasion.
Yeah.
Rhodey's on the team, but can we trust Rhodey? And then lead into that Secret Invasion show, and then eventually get to a movie, whatever. Like, they were teeing up so much good stuff that they just fumbled the bag, and then they're just like, oh, we got to bring back the old people to make it work now.
That's not gonna save your ass, dude. It might do it for one movie, but yeah, they're not cheap. And RDJ has said it. He said that it'll just dilute it or whatever. Chris Evans said he's not ready to come back. Like, you have
They
this
say
thing.
that, but as soon as that check rolls out, it's gonna be different.
Well, who knows? Maybe they're just waiting to write that check.
And let's be honest, I don't think a lot of them are having a flourishing career outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's just say Ghosted with Chris Evans. That new one that you said saying that he didn't do a good performance in. Robert Downey Jr. He was in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
That was it. I mean,
Well, yeah.
he did Dr. Dolittle.
He can't do anything. He can't do anything right now. But he was in Oppenheimer. Heard he did good in Oppenheimer.
Scarlett Johansson. Haven't seen her in much.
Well, she was in the movie. Your favorite movie. What is it called?
Oh, Asteroid City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We may or may not have seen her boobs.
Yeah. We don't know. That's still a mystery. But the article goes on to say, will that solve Major's problem? This is what I was telling you, that I feel like Majors is not going to be coming back. When Quantumanium actor was arrested in March, Disney executives insisted that they could afford to play and wait and see game, given that the Avengers Kang Dynasty wasn't expected in the beginning to begin shooting until early 2024. But then Majors was dropped in quick succession by his publicists and managers. He remains a client at the WME, the agency where he landed after CAA parted ways with him pre-arrest for his brutal conduct towards staff, says one source. CAA declined to comment. In April, other allegations of domestic violence came from Manhattan district attorneys. Other victims came out to corroborate the story. Then, ahead of key hearing in October, media outlets including Variety obtained a court filing that referenced a police incident in London involving Majors that led his ex-girlfriend to seek medical attention, making matters even stickier. The ex-girlfriend also worked on Quantumanium as a movement coach, and the London incident took place while Majors was shooting season 2 of Loki on October 25th. A New York judge denied Majors' motion to dismiss the case, which ensures that the actor will stand trial in late November. His legal team is attempting to keep some material in the case sealed. He's not coming back, bro.
I want to have faith. Don't shit on my parade.
and this next one, just to read this off real quick. A studio source notes that regardless of the actor's legal issues, Marvel's already had considered moving away from Majors-led phase because of the box office performance of Quantumania, which will struggle to make a profit. It gave people pause, given that Quantumanium didn't exactly land, the sources say. On October 27, Disney removed another Majors film, Searchlight's magazine Dreams, from the release calendar. I don't like that. I don't like them trying to blame it on Quantumania. Marvel basically is basically saying like, "Oh,
that was their big hit not too long ago."
That's what they thought. But obviously the box office bombed. But for them to say Kang, like the Kang thing isn't working and it's because of the performance of Quantumania, that has nothing to do with Majors, because how you said before, if anything, he was the best part of the movie. So why would you guys get rid of the best part of your movie? Like, that wasn't his fault. That was clearly your guys' fault, but they're probably going to use it as that fall, like, hey, before all these allegations, we were already saying you were going to skedaddle. And I think that's another dirty business move to be like, well, you know, to move the process along, we're just going to blame it on the poor box office performance. I kind of feel like that's some dirty studio shit for sure, because that wasn't his fault. He did his best.
I want him to come back. Obviously, if he's guilty, can't do it. But if he's found not guilty, I want him back. I need them to keep bringing him back as King, because he does such a good job. That's my 2 cents. I really hope he just comes back. I mean, I really don't want to think about them moving forward without him and things like that, because he's one of my favorite things right now. Mm-hmm. That, like, if Loki season 2 ends really good, and I mean it's been doing really good so far, I really like, and we don't see him as Kang again, that might check me out fully, because I fully lost what I'm invested in.
I mean, they said they're willing to recast.
Like I said,
Denzel.
If they recast, it's not going to be Denzel Washington.
Come on, Denzel.
It could be his son, the dude that plays.
I don't think he's that big of a name, and the creator didn't do him any favors either.
Well, Jonathan Majors wasn't big either when he got Kang.
Yeah, he was. He was coming off of Lovecraft Country.
Oh.
People loved him in that one. Oh. He was good in that one.
I don't know.
They canceled it after one season, but that's because of HBO. I think that was that whole. It was during that whole when they were trying to cut back on costs and everything, so they just canceled the show.
Oh, and they just when they stopped Westworld and all that too.
Yeah, they basically were obviously going through the merger and all that. So
okay,
he was hot off that one,
and then
Creed 3 happened.
Creed 3, yeah, Creed 3. He's just a good actor. Mm-hmm. But if they recast, there has to be the question again: can he hold up a candle? To me, they're gonna have to get one hell of an actor to replace him, and even then, he's gonna have to hit it out the park.
Let me think. John Boyega?
People were hinting at him, and I mean, we haven't really seen him in anything since Star Wars. I don't think.
What do you mean? We just watched the movie with him.
Oh, I mean, I guess no.
It was good.
Tyrone, they cloned Tyrone.
Yeah, I thought he did pretty good.
Yeah, he was pretty good there.
I think he could play serious. Who else could probably do it? Ken Hawkman from Black Adam? Nah.
No, couldn't see it. The dude,
Terry Crews.
why the fuck would?
Indeed.
No.
The
dude who plays Black Manta.
He's like, I'm
since
here
he's
to
probably
conquer
gonna be out of
your
a job.
He's like, I'm here to conquer your universe. Does the peg dance? No.
The dude that plays Black Manta, since he's probably gonna be out of a job soon.
Oh, he would do fire as King the Conqueror, but he was supposed to be Wonder Man.
Well, that's why, but he's not anymore.
Yeah,
they scrapped the fuck
so
out of
they
that.
can. They can
They
use
could
him.
use him. Be like, oh,
I would
he's
say
another
that. I would put my
variant.
money on him. I would say do him. I think he could do a good King, but they would have to now explain why that post-credit scene featured no variations of fucking Kang besides him in scales.
That's the tough part. That's
They
again
wrote themselves in the corner.
because I mean Kang is every other variation. He's Victor Timely and Loki and stuff. So he is quite literally in every universe. Jonathan Majors. They have to find the one universe where he's not.
Basically. And by the end of this article, what everything boils down to, they said that there was one bright spot in 2023, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which made Marvel's biggest draw of the year with $845 million worldwide. The fact that it was directed by James Gunn, the guy now running rival DC Studios, was lost on no one. With Marvel, it used to be a close to guarantee as you could get it. Paul, that's a crazy last name. I'm not saying that one. A box office analyst at ComScore. So going all in on these budgets made sense. Guardians 3 was a bit overlooked in how successful it was, but that had James Gunn and Chris Pratt. I think star power is becoming more important. There was Quantumanium with $476 million. Anything under $500 million is viewed as a disappointment, and these overreaching expectations are a result of so much success over the years. The key to reinvigorating Marvel may lie in the superhero arsenal that Disney acquired during its 2019 purchase of 21st Century Fox. That deal brought several blue-chipped heroes such as the X-Men and Fantastic Four back under the studio's control. Already fans are geeking about next year's Deadpool 3, which unites Ryan Reynolds' Merc with a Mouth with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and a reboot of Fantastic Four slated for 2025. As a bonus, the Fox additions give Fahey an opportunity to reimagine the X-Men franchise, the very property he cut his teeth on as a young executive as Lauren Scholler Donner's production company. Now that the WGA is in the rearview mirror, Marvel has started talking to writers about bringing the X-Men into the MCU fold. And that's basically it.
And that circles back to my point of A-listers and B-listers. The X-Men are a huge name brand. Before you knew Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, it was Spider-Man, Hulk, and Wolverine. Those were the big three you saw everywhere before the MCU kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
Your A-listers lie within the X-Men, and the potential of making a Fantastic Four movie that doesn't suck since the OG in 2004 when that one came out, 2005.
I think you could make any of these characters an A-lister. I mean, look at Guardians of the Galaxy and all the other characters that they brought up. I know you don't
lost
like
me.
I know you don't like bringing it up, but I think you could make these people hit characters no matter what, as long as you put the story first. You like if they said the Secret Invasion show, if they would have said that that's how they were making it, I would have been like, this is not a Secret Invasion show. This is not what people want. Why are we giving screen time to this Skrull girl who's gonna become the biggest powerful person at the end of the series? The person that should be up and like healing and should be the one being rooted for is Samuel L. Jackson, because that's his series. So they should have made that spy espionage thriller, and by the end of it, he should have had that emotional moment at the end of the show with him, and not just be like, oh, just kidding, Gaia. You know, like that was just. It's just poor planning. People are already getting sick of superheroes. I think the market is saturated. That shit is superhero this, The Boys, Gen V, Invincible, MCU, DCU's coming back. We're getting these little superhero shows on Netflix. The one that they canceled it was kind of like down the vein of The Boys, their kind of version of The Boys. Paramount's putting one out. Peacock's probably going to be en route after that. It's like we're getting to the point where if these stories aren't good, we have so much other projects out there, superhero projects, that we could easily turn our backs on these ones. You know what I mean? It's so easy to put this toy down and go somewhere else. But then when is it going to get to the point where we're sick of seeing superheroes altogether? I don't want to put this toy down and pick up another superhero toy. I'm fucking tired of these guys.
That's the question, isn't it? When will all this come to a stop? And I think with Invincible and The Boys exploring the whole bloodier aspect of superheroes that the MCU obviously can't dive into, it'll all be just a question of how long can the MCU go before hitting that rated R. And Deadpool was probably their answer to that shit. But yeah, we won't see that till like 2025 now.
And then rumor has it that apparently Thunderbolts is not going to be seeing the light of day either. That apparently they don't have confidence in that.
You could make Sentry such a badass villain, but they just don't want to lose that PG-13 rating. And again, that's on brand with Disney or whatever.
But that'll hurt them too.
My God, man,
that'll hurt them. I mean, they were able to make invigorating movies off PG-13. I mean, Infinity War, Winter Soldier.
Yeah, but with The Boys,
Civil War, depending on where you stand. I mean, like
Team Iron Man.
There's like they can make good movies without having to do all that extra shit, but you got to be willing. And let's be honest, they've had a villain problem already. The villains have been an issue since the very jump.
They fucking kill him off in the same movie.
So maybe that's another reason. I was thinking about it right now. Maybe that's another reason why Kang hasn't really been coming off as great, because what do they do with villains? They either get rehabilitated, oh, sorry, I killed 50 people, I'm sorry guys, and then they're on the same team, or they get killed off in their first movie. So it's like, Ironmonger, he could have been a good reoccurring villain. They fucking killed him.
I was waiting for Justin Hammer.
After a big CGI battle. After a big whatever the fuck was going on in that train track. I mean, villains have been an issue with them already. So them having this problem with Kang is one thing that should have been, honestly, not that surprising.
Yeah. This is interesting. Depressing even. Because
it does sound depressing.
This whole article covered so much stuff in so little time.
What do you, what... Obviously, we're going to dig a little bit more in our next episode when we record that the one that we're going to be having with our guests. But I think people are done with Marvel. I think Marvel is going to, if they don't nail their next set of movies, I don't think there's coming back, man. At this point, they're probably going to have to take a hiatus, probably reboot and come back.
It's going to be the MCU, because I don't like throwing Marvel, the whole Marvel tag under there, because the games are doing fine, the comics are doing fine. Like, Marvel, the MCU, the only one kind of fumbling the bag right now. And that's where people go to get...
The comics aren't doing good.
Bro,
because
they just released Ultimate stuff.
They're doing exactly what the comics were doing. Yeah, but after we had this conversation, I looked into it. Comics are not doing good. They're barely getting back on that path to, bring people back, supposedly. Because apparently the comic books... After Disney took over in 2009, they basically went through this LGBT, gender swapping, all this stuff. Whatever you're seeing now on TV is what apparently happened in the comic books first. And now all of a sudden they, the comic book sales dropped. People were rejecting it. They're like, we don't want to see this LGBTQ shit in my comic books. And people weren't buying. Now all of a sudden they're bringing back old stuff and trying to, bring people back into comic books. But that's why I told you the last time it's a dying industry, because if that didn't cripple it already, I mean, it's hard to bring back a fan base.
Comics fluctuate based off story. If the story isn't going anywhere, people aren't gonna buy that comic. The Ultimates just dropped.
That's
you got
with
a lot
everything.
Of good stuff.
That's with everything.
Well, yeah, but
that was such a broad statement that didn't make any.
I just labeled comics because that's quite literally what happens in that industry.
That happens with all industries.
With most things, like, it doesn't hit as hard as comics.
Movies are the same way. That was just such a broad statement. I didn't that was too broad. Comics are not as
that
hot.
Spider-Man run that's going on right now. I don't know. I think it's almost over. No one's buying it.
Yeah.
No one was buying that Batman one for a cool minute.
I heard people are buying that Wolverine and Predator one.
Yep, that one's good. That one does sound really good. The Justice League and versus Godzilla one I hear is doing good. The Ultimates again just dropped. People are excited for the Ultimate Spider-Man one to come back. And yeah, that is based. It's not based off the one from the game that we knew, and the older comics from the 2000s. It's a revamp, and that's what people want to see. That whole LGBTQ stuff. I remember, I remember when that shit was coming out. When X-23 was coming out, people were like, "Well, when they made Wolverine a girl?" Things like that. Jane Foster when she took over the mantle of Thor for a little bit. Things like that. That was just natural progression. And I remember the situation with all of it.
Captain Marvel
and Rhodey. Captain Marvel has gone through this thing where they just make her the fucking bad guy. Like in Civil War 2, the comics.
Yeah.
She goes up against Miles Morales.
Yeah.
That's a fat ass red flag. And like for me, I think that's another big play on why the movies are doing so ass with her is because people have this image of the comics where it's like she's public enemy number one. And then they slap her on a movie and it's just like, we don't want to see this racist on the screen. Like,
I don't think that's it. I just think it's Brie Larson, to be honest. I think she's rubbing people the wrong way with some of the things that she says and like
it's just funny to think about.
Yeah. That has to. I think Captain Marvel has an image problem, but that's because of Brie Larson, and obviously, I feel like that's another reason why she took a back seat in her movie. But at the same time, why is it? And this is probably gonna play into that whole Gina Carano thing. You've seen her little tirade that happened with that whole Pandaverse thing that happened. It's like
I need to watch that episode now.
Yeah. People need to allow these actors to speak their mind. Now, don't get me wrong. No Kanye West shit. No Kanye West shit. We don't need to hear any of that stuff. But, like, these actors should be able to speak their mind, especially in a time with social media where people can formulate opinions. And regardless of what you say, you're going to throw something out there and somebody's going to catch it. There's going to be a group that's going to support you on it, right? And that group is going to go watch your movies. But if you completely alienate that group because you get rid of that actor or whatever, you're going to really hurt your movie. So people that were excited to see Brie Larson is now they're like, well, we can still see her, but maybe we could wait till streaming because, you know, she's not front and center in this movie.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's one thing for her that, you know, maybe it's better to keep your mouth shut, but at the same time, studios should have a backbone and be behind their actors. Unless it's, you know, obviously atrocious shit like, you know, what Rachel Zegler was doing and whatever, but like, I mean, that's another topic for a different day.
Yeah, for sure. I don't want to talk about Rachel Zegler.
Yeah.
Weird.
Weird.
That's weird.
But at the end of it all, we're going to be breaking this down a little bit further. We talked about this. We know what the issues are. We've been screaming this to you guys for a while. I feel like there's been a lot of people that have been saying these things, and I feel like you've been on the more positive side where I was being like, no, I mean, I've been listening. Obviously, I tell you, I listen to all sides of the arguments. I listen to the whole incel stuff. I listen to the whole progressive stuff, the wokeism, the
You better than me, dude. I can listen to it. It's just annoying.
It's annoying because they make valid points and then they say some dumb shit. They're like, oh yeah, you know, they're putting these actors and characters in a movie that we don't want to see, but women shouldn't be front and center in the movie. And then that's when they lose me. I'm like, I don't think women should not be front and center in a movie. I think women have a place. Yes. You know, like there's a place and a time for a black actor, a black character to lead the movie. Yeah. There's a time and a place for a woman, female to do that, not just be like, diversity says we need a Jewish, Asian, Puerto Rican female to lead this movie. Like, no. If this story fits this Latino family or whatever, Latino character, whatever, it's about family. I told you before, apparently all the Mexican movies, it's always about family, right? Familia, you're my familia, whatever. Family. It's like, okay, so what demographic is going to eat up family and all that stuff? Latinos. They love that shit, right? We're going to put a Latino lead, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It'll work out. And that's just how life works. And then you have obviously you have, like I said, that the arguments get worse when it's like Miles Morales isn't Spider-Man, he's Miles Morales. Yeah, so it's like so it's like that's where they lose me. I can hear the other points, but at the same time, then you hear some fuckery, and you're just like, well, I don't agree with that part.
I don't know, man. I just can't stand.
Yeah,
I just can't stand them. But anyway,
yeah. Go check out this article. Let us know your guys' thoughts. Let us know where Marvel's hiccuping up. Where can they fix it? Do you guys want to see Doom? Do you want Jonathan Majors to be recasted? Do you guys have any recasting choices? We want to hear all this and more. And if you guys have any suggestions, any movies you guys want us to talk about, any topics that we should be talking about here that we have not, you want to catch a live, you want to support us in a big way, Josh, one more time, let them know.
Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at FilmBros Podcast. We post new episodes or applications up there for any news or movies you want us to cover. We're also on Facebook at FilmBros Podcast. Listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts, at Spotify, YouTube Music, anywhere you get your podcasts. We're on a bunch of sites. Check us out. Support us in a big way. Buzzsprout, link is in those bios of the socials I just gave you. Supporters get special perks and shout outs on episodes. So we recognize you for helping us out and you help us grow. Subscribe to our YouTube at FilmBros Podcast. Catch a live every Saturday and throughout the week at FilmBros Podcast on Twitch.
Yeah. And with that being said, Marvel's dying, and we'll talk to you guys on the next one.
Talk to you guys later.